Welcome to the Hemlock State Explorer and our walking tour of Parker Dam State Park. We are here because we want to help you get a sense of the campground, and we want to help you pick out the best camping spot that fits your style. When you book state park campgrounds, they often have a 1 or 2, maybe 3 photos, and who knows how old they might be, and you really can't get a good sense of each campsite, so we want to help you with that. So to start off, here is Site 1 and Site 2 up ahead, both along the woods. Parker Dam State Park Campground is arranged in 3 loops, so we'll follow the numbers. And here is 107. I believe there are 110 sites in total, and next to 107, which is the campground host, we have some firewood for sale. We'll follow the numbers up this way, so there's a turn to the left between site 2 and 3. These sites are not available because we're here in mid-November. This state park opens in early April and closes in early December, so there are a few weeks left in the camping season. Here's Site 3, right on the corner, pretty open, wouldn't be our first choice. And then Site 4, just beyond it. When you go to the DCNR, that is Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, to find a state park and to book a campsite, they have listed in a schedule when each state park opens and when it closes, for camping anyway. Here's Site 5, right next to Site 4, but at least we have some cover between 5 and 6. A lot of Pennsylvania state park campgrounds close in October, but here's one that's open till December at any rate. First, Site 6 and Site 7. These are smaller sites. And then this road terminates, so we'll pan around to Site 8 ahead of us, and then Site 9. And all these sites on the inner loop tend to be more open, closer together in a lot of state parks. We've been here in the summertime. Of course, now we can't see the numbers on the posts going this way. Yeah, so you're looking at Site 10, and then this will be Site 11 right here. As I was saying, I've camped here in the summertime, and these inner loops, though, are great if you have little kids and you can see the playground right in the middle of the loop. They're great because the kids can get together with each other and play, and I've seen so many kids running around and bikes on the roads, families having a great time. So for some folks, their style is a little bit more seclusion. Site 13, and then Site 14 you're looking at, and in that case you might want to choose some of the outer loops where you tend to have a bit more cover. But for folks who want to get their kids together, or if you want to camp adjacent to your friends and family as a block, a site, an inner loop site, would be the right choice for you then. All right, so here's 107. I don't know why they give the campground host 107 out of sequence, but so it is. And then here is Site 16 to the left, and Site 17 beyond it, that next post over. And it looks like odds are on the left, evens are to the right. Here's site 18 and site 20 beyond. Not much cover between the sites right here. Would not be my first choice, but at least you are against the woods. Here's site 21 right against that tree, and site 48 pretty close to it. Site 19 right here, typical inner loop site, at least you're underneath a big oak. Site 22 right here on the corner. At least you have some cover from those young beeches, but wouldn't be my first choice on the corner. Site 23 to our left. And then site 24. And then 26 beyond it. Site 25 we're looking at directly ahead of us. There we go, site 25. So it looks like for these sites, they have a drive for primarily campers. These are electric sites. Most sites here are electric. There are a few tent sites without electric on one of the loops that we can look at. Here's site 27. Hey, there's a fellow camper on site 28, and then site 30 and 32 just beyond it. Site 29, and there's the water behind site 29. Well, actually, these must be full hookups. Yeah, there's a water spigot, and then the electricity in that box, and then another spigot in site 31. So of course we're going to have, well, here's site 32, and then 34 beyond it. It looks like on the other side of the loop we're getting into some woods. We'll take a look at that then. And here's site 31 back that way. And site 33. And 36 has a little bit of a wooded area. Yeah, each site has a fire ring and a picnic table. And none of these sites have tent pads, although I suppose you could set up a tent in the flat areas, maybe underneath those trees. Here's site 35. But I guess if you're in a camper, you might not be so concerned about having lots of cover. Here's site 37. There's a lot of site 37 is paved. Okay, here's site 39 with a camper on it next to those beeches. And that Norway spruce under that is site 41. Site 38 is directly in front of the bathhouse, and it looks like there's pathways from these sites to the bathhouse. It might be convenient if you need to visit there frequently. Okay, here's site 41, and in the middle of each of these loops is a bathhouse. I think we'll take a look inside. Two of them have showers. One does not have a shower, but we'll confirm that. Here's site 40. And like I was saying, you can find all of this information at hemlockstateexplorer.com. And you can find the campground map and more information there. All right, site 43 to our left. Underneath these spruce trees, or a spruce tree rather, and a big oak between 43 and 45 just beyond. We're gonna turn aside. Here's 42 with a young oak Another young oak, and it's right on the corner. So that's site 42 you're looking at. Another full hookup site. These all are here are full hookup sites. 44. Yeah, and like I was saying, at hemlockstateexplorer.com, we'll have the maps, and on the maps it will be marked which sites are, have 30 amp, which have 50 amp, which are full hookup, which are tent sites. 46. Then 45. And we are near the completion of the first loop with site 47. So these are all camper sites. I mean, you can put tents on them, but they're intended for campers, hence the electricity and the water. And most of them are pretty open, being on this inner loop. Let's head on to the next loop. As a note on the first loop, here is the bathhouse. We confirmed it has both flush toilets and sinks and shower facilities. Right next to it is the beach volleyball court. This bathhouse is a little bit older than state park bathhouses that we visited, but it's still clean and well maintained inside, as we would come to expect from state parks. That's one of the nice things about Pennsylvania state parks. We love private campgrounds, and if you're up for it, probably my favorite actually are the state forest campsites, where they're essentially a clearing in the woods that you have road access to, and they'll have a fire ring and a picnic table, and that's about it. Those are my favorite actually. But one of the nice things about state parks is there's a lot of consistency in the quality, and you know what you're going to get at a state park. Another thing we appreciate about Pennsylvania state parks is they are family oriented. They typically have amenities for kids like playgrounds, and some of them even have swimming, whether that's in a lake or a pool. They have quiet hours, and alcohol is prohibited, so although you can't enjoy a drink, well, I mean, not to say that people don't drink at state parks, they do, but at least they have to keep it under control. And I appreciate that, because nothing ruins a camping trip quicker than being next to some loud drunks. So in that regard, we appreciate it. All right, ready for this second loop? We left off at site 47, so here we are at site 48, and you can see just beyond these young beeches, it looks like the sites get more wooded. Site 49, which site 49 is really close to site 22. I didn't realize at first that these are two separate sites, but you're really up against each other. Wouldn't be my first choice. Hey, site 50 looks pretty nice. Have a large hemlock behind it. Have some cover from these beaches. And there's site 51. Pretty good as well. And it looks like there's a trail between site 51 and 53 to the amphitheater. Here's site 52. I like how that fire ring is set back in among those beaches. Again, you have pavement here, not a lot of room for a tent. Yeah, and whatever. Yeah, what is this site? What site is this? Is this 52? No. Yeah, I guess this is site 52. Yeah, you have no room for a tent. So be aware that in a lot of these sites that are for campers, they're fairly small, and a lot of them are a lot of the site is paved. Here is site 53, and you can see that this is a tent site because although you have the driveway, there's a nice tent pad up in the woods there underneath that black cherry. Okay, so I guess this was site 54. Okay, we'll have to make a correction then. But at any rate, 54 doesn't have a lot of room for a tent. 55, so we're in the tent section. And you can see there's a nice tent pad up there. And then 57, same deal. Yeah, these tend to be more rustic. At least there's cover in between a lot of the campsites, although not much cover between 59 and 57. So some state park campgrounds have tent pads, some do not. This one does. So if we turn around here, here's site 56, which isn't bad. You have some cover. And then beyond that, 58 to our left. Yeah, I would prefer these more, just on account of I like having trees around me. I like to feel like I'm more in the woods when I'm camping. Here's site 58, right next to a newer looking bathhouse. We were inside of that bathhouse. That does have a flush toilet and sinks and showers as well. It's a bit newer than the bathhouse on the first loop. And this is site 61. This is interesting because you have the driveway and then a large rock and then your picnic table and fire pit back there. So there's a little, on 53 it was similar, where there's some separation between the actual campsite and the driveway. Site 63. Smaller site, it looks like. And then we have a camper over here on 64. And then 65. I don't know if I'd like 65 on account of the bathhouse. Here's 67 beyond. Then here is 66. And then 68. Now we're getting more open. I like how the first loop was. 67 right here on the other side of the bathhouse. Actually, this is 69 we're looking at. That post 67 is for this site, but this site here is 69 that we're looking at through the beaches. Let's turn the corner to get you better view of site 69. There we go. Yeah, I guess you could put a tent on that gravel, but you need some tent pads unless you want rocks in your back. 70, 71, and then 72. These are all fairly open, so if you like having close neighbors, or if you want to have a block of sites for your family and friends to camp together, this would be a good option. But I'm learning here at Parker Dam State Park, a lot of these are camper sites and are intended as such because they have long drives and I guess you would have to find sites off of the gravel in the grass for tents. Although these sites here that we've just seen, it looks like you do have some grass area behind them, so you could set up a tent here. Site 74, and then we'll turn around to say 73. So see, even 73, there's not a flat spot for a tent that's not on gravel or or on blacktop, macadam as some folks call it. Site 73 seems to be in a similar situation. I see some ground beyond 73, but that's low area right there. I can tell just from looking at it, and you will get wet if you set up your tent in low area like that. Here's site 75. I'm going to turn. Here's 76. 76 is a fairly large site. You could set up multiple tents easily back towards that grass. Here's 78. 78, same situation. You could set up a tent back there. Although it looks like it's intended, it's a full hookup site. So here's 77. Here's 79. And then we'll take a turn right here. What's this? This is 78. Yeah, so although you could, site 80, although you could set up tents here, full hookup sites are a few dollars more a night, so I don't know why you would pay for a full hookup if you're only going to use it for a tent. There are other better options. Site 82. And then 81. Looks like there's a little path here. Looks like this stand of young beeches is right in the middle of the site. So if we turn around, or make our way around these. Okay, so yes, so here's the drive then for 81, and then you have a beach stand right in there. Okay, so we'll come back up here to the other side, the even side, that is 84, 86, and then this truck and camper is on site 87, and then 83, 85, all look fairly similar. And then there's the bathhouse around back. We'll take a look at that then. 88 up ahead. Yeah, so all these are pretty similar, where it looks, there's not a lot of cover in between. And then on the outer loop, 89. Yeah, I mean, that goes back kind of far. You could set up a tent there. It looks like it has electricity, but these are not the full hookup sites. 90. 90's decent, I guess. And then here's 91 around here. And then we have 93. We'll finish to our left, and then come back around to site 92, 94, 96, 97, and 99. So here's site 93, close to the bathhouse. 95 with the big rock. Yeah, I'm getting the sense that a lot of the sites in this state park are intended for campers, unless they're explicitly tent sites. So you'll have to be careful. Watch the video. If you do plan on tenting, watch the video and make sure that that there's a spot flat enough for a tent. Here's 98. It's 100. Lots of rocks right there, and then you have your neighbor next to you. 100 would not be appropriate for a tent. All right, let's turn around. There's the first loop we walked through, and there's a nice rocky area. That'd be fun for the kids to play on. Let's orient ourselves. Okay, this is site 99. Well, that's handy. Has it right there in the blacktop. So that would be a cool site. Probably not going to set up a tent there. Hey, maybe a hammock. Okay, yeah, so that's 99. Again, 97, you're probably not going to get a tent in it, although it's right next to the cool rocks for the kids to play on. Okay, it starts to flatten out some at site 96. Underneath that tall oak. And now we're back to site 94. And what would this be? 92. Right. Okay, so it looks like in some sections evens are on one side, odds are on the other, and then other sections that's not the case. 92 is decent. You have some space back there. All right, let's go to the third loop. We've walked the perimeter of the campground. Then there's a crossroad in between the loops where sites 101 to 106 are located, as indicated by that sign. And if we didn't catch it before, here's site 69. All right, 101 is to our left. A more wooded area with some woods and rocks between it and the next site. Okay, we'll turn to our right. Here's 102 and 103 on the inner loop towards the bathhouse. All right, on the other side of 101 among the rocks is 104. And we'll turn to the other side of the street, 105. And then at the corner here, again with rocks and close to its neighbor, is 106. And then on a small loop of their own, there are a few more campsites. 108. That one's pretty nice. Not a lot of flat, but I like how it's against the woods and against the rocks. Ooh, what's this? 109. I'm excited for this one. That looks right up my alley. And from the map, this is a tent site. Let's go take a closer look to 109. This might be on the favorites list. Let's go see. Well, it looks like you have a runoff right in front of your campsite. So, you know, if it was raining, wet weather, that wouldn't be my favorite. And I would maybe consider this. It's not listed on the map, but I would say this is a walk-in site because I guess you would park right there. Very limited parking, and then you need to step down these rocks, and here is your tent pad, and then your picnic table and your fire ring. While we're here, let's cut over to 110. I'm liking these sites, but yeah, 109 would qualify as a walk-in site. All right, among these tall pines, we have site 110. the tent pad. I'm loving the tent pad underneath the pines. I was thinking that maybe this would be a parking area, but it is in fact a gated road. So where would you park? Yeah, it's a gated road and there's the dump station beyond. Okay, well, it looks like this is your parking spot for site 110. So site 109 and 110 are my favorite sites, but they're walk-in sites for sure. Well, those are all the campsites, but don't go anywhere just yet because there's more to see at Parker Dam State Park. In addition to the campground with individual sites and a group tenting site, there are 17 cabins available year-round. Some are in the style of log cabins, others are more in the style of lodges. Each cabin sleeps 4, 6, or 8 people, with exception of the Tyler cabin, which can sleep up to 12 people. Each cabin has bunk beds, mattresses, a gas cooking stove, refrigerator, table and benches, gas heaters, and wood-burning fireplaces. Each cabin has a detached private restroom with sink, shower, and flush toilet. From the dump station, there is a trail through Beach and then Hemlock stand. It looks like they have some significant switchback going on here for just a small trail. Yeah, it's these signs clearly said do not go off the trail, so we'll take these excessive switchbacks. Yeah, do not shortcut the switchbacks. So we'll take the excessive switchbacks down to the lake. Okay, so here is the dam breast. Wow, that's picturesque. So across the way, it looks like there are boat rentals, kayak and canoe, it looks like. There's a beach area. And then we'll take a walk to the spillway. So, interesting history time. Why is there a man-made lake here in the middle of nowhere, if I may say so? And how did Parker Dam State Park come to be? Well, the area was first settled for its valuable timber in the 1790s, of virgin white pine and hemlock and assorted deciduous trees, and logging here grew and boomed in the 1850s. In the 1850s, a dam was built here on this is not the original dam, but this is the original site of the dam, which served as a splash pool. So what's a splash pool? Well, most of the timber was harvested in the winter because it was much easier to drag over the ice and snow, and then they were slid down the surrounding hillside. Then the timber was slid down or dragged to accumulate in these splash pools over winter. Then in the springtime, with the snow melt and the rains filling up the pools, then the dam was opened and the logs were flooded downstream to the Susquehanna, where they could be constructed into rafts and floated down the Susquehanna to ports and sawmills at places like Williamsport. And you know, this is the story of so many places in Pennsylvania. You might visit these remote rural towns and ask yourself, you know, how did these get here? I don't really see a whole lot going on, but in a lot of cases it was because of either mining or lumber. And towns grew up during the lumber booms. The forests over most of the state were harvested multiple times. After the lumber was gone, well then a lot of the people went too. How did Parker Dam State Park come to be? Well, by the early 1900s, before the 19-teens, the lumber boom was over, and after the land had been harvested several times, it suffered from forest fires and erosion and flooding due to the land just being left bare with brush. The state began purchasing the land in the 1930s, and in 1933 a CCC camp, that is Civilian Conservation Corps, a Depression-era program during the early days of the conservation movement, was created to put young men to work reforesting the area. The Parker Dam was reconstructed, and in 1937 Parker Dam State Park was opened. And here is a replica of the log slide that would have been used to transport the logs from the surrounding hillside down to the splash pond. Many Pennsylvania state parks are on the sites of Civilian Conservation Corps camps, and you can learn more about the CCC at the Lou and Helen Adams Civilian Conservation Corps Museum, located at the dam spillway. The day use area features a spacious sand beach with changing rooms, a concession stand, and boat launch and boat rentals. There's a picnic area set among a beautiful pine stand. There are multiple pavilions. There's a ball field, a playground, and this pavilion even has a fireplace. For your convenience, there are also bathroom facilities. We are impressed by the size and the niceness of the day use area. It's evident that thought and care were put into the design of the day use area to make it both functional and aesthetically appealing. We hope you found the Parker Dam State Park Campground review helpful, and if it has, please like, subscribe, and share. And check out all of our adventures, including all of our campground reviews, at hemlockstateexplorer.com. And until next time, we can't wait to see you on the next adventure.